In this session, we're going to build a Prezi, or at least the bare bones of one. We're going to start out using a Prezi template, but in the process of going through that template, we'll talk about working with text, working with objects, inserting media, and then how to deviate from the path that the template gives you. We're at the Prezi homepage right now at Prezi.com, and it's showing us a list of previous Prezis that have been created, and we're going to start the Prezi creation process by clicking New Prezi. The first dialog box that shows up gives you 9 pre-formatted templates along with 3 popular ones here on the right, and if you click More, you'll get more templates. These are worth looking through to, if nothing else, get ideas on how you might want to put together your own presentation. I'm going to go back to Latest. I'm going to click Examination. And here is the template for our first Prezi. Let's start by getting a feel for the Prezi Workspace. We'll start here at the very top in the middle where we have 3 buttons. The frames and arrow buttons allow you to do just that, insert arrows and insert frames. You have 4 types of frames: brackets, circles, rectangles, and invisible frames. And you'll notice here in the template that we're working mostly with circular frames. Insert is next. You can insert a variety of media into Prezi, images, diagrams, YouTube videos, PDFs, PowerPoint presentations. You can even add voiceover. So there is a lot of media that can be added to a Prezi. And finally, themes allow you to change the color palette that you're working with. For instance, we could go to Inferno to get a much more striking presentation. You should feel free to experiment with various color palettes because you can always revert to the original simply by clicking the upper left-hand box. Let's next move to this left-hand column. We're going to be working with this a lot. This looks much like a PowerPoint presentation with a series of slides, and it is really similar to a PowerPoint presentation, except instead of these being slides, they are stops along the path of motion that your Prezi is taking. So at any time while you're editing your Prezi and building your Prezi, you can sort of scrub through the path just by clicking these stops along the motion path one at a time and see where your path and your Prezi is going. You can add steps to the path or delete steps from the path or create your own path, and we'll talk about that a little later. This Edit Path button is the tool you use to edit that path. Notice that when you click it, you have the number of that stop along the Prezi's path of motion along with a line connecting the various motion stops. Also realize at the bottom we have Add Current View and Clear All, which are both useful tools in editing the Prezi path as well. A couple more details and we'll begin. Realize that the Edit Path button is actually a toggle between editing your path and editing the canvas of the Prezi itself. So when you want to quit working with your path and begin to work with your text and inserted media, you've got to click this again to go back to edit the canvas of the Prezi itself. To zoom in and out, you can use your wheel of your mouse, which is how I usually do it. There is a tool here at the very right that you can use to zoom in and zoom out, but it's much easier to use the wheel of your mouse. And finally, if you get lost in your presentation, which does happen from time to time, you can always go to that Home button at the very right, which takes you back to the beginning view of your presentation. So let's begin. I'm going to click inside this first text box. I'll then drag my canvas down so we can see the toolbar for editing this text. I'm going to type in 7 seconds. Now you have a title, subtitle, and body buttons here. And you can see all 3 of these. These are well designed, so I use these a lot to choose the fonts for me for titles, subtitles, and body. I'll then click anywhere outside that text box to accept those changes, and our next task is going to be to deviate from the path. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to double click to start a new text box, and I'm going to type in, "This is how long you have to capture capture your audience's attention. I'll correct my misspelling. And there's our second text box. This tool over at the right allows you to adjust the size. So I'm going to move it in a little bit so it's 2 even lines of text, and then I'll click outside it to accept it. I'm going to zoom back out using the home button to see how the placement looks. Now if I want to move this, all I need to do is select it, and I get this tool, Edit Text, Delete, the hand which allows me to move it, and the plus or minus which allows me to make it larger and smaller. So I'm going to move it just under the 7 seconds. I'm going to go 1 step smaller, and I'm going to go into the Edit Text to go from title to subtitle. The last thing I'm going to do now is add this as the second step of my path. So I'm going to go to Edit Path, and I'm going to just click on this object. In this case, the object is a text box. When I click it, it shows up at the bottom of my screen set, of my set of stops along the motion path, and I'll now drag it up so it's the second slide in my slideshow. So now this will be my first slide, and this will be my second slide. I'm now going to make one more deviation from the motion path of the Prezi template, and then we'll re-enter the motion path that the template is set up for us. I'm first going to toggle off of Edit Path, so we're back into editing the canvas of the Prezi, and I'm now going to go to Frames and Arrows and use the pull down and choose Draw Bracket Frame. I'm going to draw one over this circle. You don't have to get it exact because you can always edit it later. So I'll let go. I'll type in my text, and here's the text box I've created. After I created it, I resized it and centered it inside these brackets. Notice that when I first created the brackets, I got a 14 here, and you may have noticed the slide, or this step in the motion path, drop to the end of my slide set. So I'm going to go ahead and take that stop and drag it up to be the third stop in my order. And upon looking at this, I see that I've also left out a step. I don't have a zoom into the 7 seconds, which is my title. So I'm in Edit Path mode. I'm going to click 7 seconds. That goes to the bottom. And I'm going to drag this up as my second slide. So here is our motion path thus far. Our opening shot, our second shot, our third shot, and our fourth shot. I'm now going to rejoin the order of the template that Prezi has given us, so I'm going to type in these 3 click to add titles inside these 3 text boxes. So I've now created the main 3 elements of this presentation of how to create an engaging homepage, get them there, keep them there, and keep them coming back. So the get them there will allude to the 3 subpoints in this bubble. The keep them there will refer to the 2 subpoints in this bubble, and the keep them coming back will refer to the 3 subpoints in this bubble. Now you can add and subtract bubbles depending on how many points you have in that subsection of your presentation. So here we are in the get them there section. So I'm going to zoom in here and add text to these 3 text boxes. We're at the optimize keyword subpoint. So what I'm going to do now is add an image to this and then create another custom step in the path that zooms in on a specific part of that image. So I'm first going to go to the Insert, pull down. I'm going to choose Image. Insert Image is over here on the right. Select Files, and this is on my desktop called SS1 for Screenshot 1. So I double click that. It'll take a while to import. And now that it's imported, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to drag it to just under optimize keywords. Let's see if we can go 1 shot bigger. Nope. We'll keep it just like that. I'm now going to add this as a step. So I'm going to go to Edit Path. I'm going to click this object. It shows up at the bottom, so I'm going to pull it up to just below the optimized keyword frame. I'm going to add one more step after that. I'm going to zoom in on the area of this image that contains keywords. And let's draw a frame around this. So I'm going to choose the frame pull down. I'm going to draw a rectangular frame. And I'm going to frame this section of the code. That's already created a new screenshot, so I'll pull that to just under the screenshot of the Dreamweaver page. So let's see what we have so far. Our second slide is 7 seconds. Third slide. Fourth slide. Fifth slide. Sixth slide. Seventh slide. Eighth slide. You've probably noticed this annoying click to add text bit of text, so I'm going to click inside that text box and hit delete. And now we're ready to move on to our second subpoint, increase your Google juice, and this time I'm going to use video. My first step is to get rid of this text box. I'll click inside it and hit delete to get rid of it. I now have a YouTube video. I'm going to grab the URL by right-clicking and copying. I'm going to go back to my Prezi. I'm going to choose the Insert panel and YouTube video. I'm going to paste in the YouTube link and click Insert. I'll then move it under my subpoint and center and make it the right size, and we've now inserted a video for our second bullet point. We'll then take our last subpoint and we'll import a PDF into this and call it a day. I'm first going to get rid of this unneeded text box. Go to the Insert, pull down, choose PDF, and I have RSS.pdf on my desktop. It'll take a while to import, and once the import is complete, it looks like this. So I'll drag my first page over to the left, make it larger. I'll then drag the second page over, make it larger as well, and line up with the first one. And let's now zoom in on these two PDF pages with two more added path points. So I'm going to click Edit Path. I'm going to click my first page and my second page, and then going to drag the first page up to just under my RSS feeds screenshot, and then my second page just under that one. And I think we'll call it a day, as I've demonstrated most of the major ideas behind creating a Prezi presentation. So let's quickly go over what we have. Our opening shot, title, third shot, our main title, our first main point, first bullet point, first subpoint I should say, a couple of zoom ins, our second point that contains a YouTube video, our third subpoint with zoom ins on 2 pages of a PDF. And that is how to at least begin to create a Prezi presentation.